You want to be an architect,
Maybe a truck driver?
maybe a realtor.
Something in the medical field?
Huh. Listen to Career Paths on Unedited.
Thursdays.
Until you make it. There you go.
All right, you're good.
Welcome to Career Paths by Infonet. I'm your host, Victor Boudreau. Today, our guest is Mike Wilson. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
It's been a while since I've seen you.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah, lucky you.
Right.
Mike, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do for your career?
I am a heavy equipment parts manager for Acme Concrete.
And so what is that detail? What, I mean, that's a nice title.
You're right.
So what do you really do anything?
No, I just sit behind the desk.
Nice. Huh.
I'm in charge of getting the parts that the mechanics need on the equipment.
And Acme delivers the concrete and all that. Because I don't know much about the Acme. So
Acme Concrete, we basically do like airport runways. We do
Oh, wow. So big stuff.
Freeway. We're doing north-south freeway right now.
Oh, the big south.
So yeah.
Okay,
So
nice.
we lay concrete.
So you have to get all the parts for the trucks to keep them going and keep things happening.
As well as all the equipment for jobs to keep them running
Wow.
as well. All the small tools, the hot saws, the rider saws, the flat saws. I mean, there's
How long have you been doing this? Because I met you years ago and you were doing. How long have you been doing this job?
I've been doing this for a little over 2 years.
Wow. So let's back up a little bit. Give us a little bit about your background. You're married, divorced. You got a girlfriend now?
I do have a girlfriend.
You have children and grandchildren. You're a granddad.
Yeah, I do have grandchildren now. And
How many grandkids do you have?
I have 2 grandkids now.
Just your daughter have?
She just recently had.
Really?
Yeah.
I had her
recently
on that social media site.
Yep, in November.
Wow.
So yeah, my son had
Yes.
his a year ago, and
Wow.
she had hers a few months ago.
Wow. Is it easier being a dad than or is it easier being a grandfather than a dad?
Well, it's much easier being a grandfather because I never see him. Because Katie lives down in Australia.
I know that.
So I don't get to see.
When was the last time you got to see your daughter?
2 years ago I went down there.
No, but you stay in contact obviously with.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Awesome.
Social media is a wonderful thing.
So you have a girlfriend. You've been divorced. Name. I always say name, rank, and serial number. Do you ever rank or no?
Well, yeah, I was in E6
Well, there you go. So okay. So you have military background too.
prior. Yeah.
Wow. See, we haven't hit on that with any of our guests so far. So I'll hit you up and we'll talk about there shortly. So to do the parts thing that you're doing now, what was your career before that or job before that, and how long were you at that? Because that's where I met you, or when I met you, I think you were doing it was auto parts.
Auto parts, yeah.
And how long did you do that?
I did that for 18 years.
Okay. When you started in that, we're going to jump around, Mike, because there's so much that information that you're going to have to give and share. When you started out doing that, at the beginning of 18 years, what were you doing? You weren't a parts manager at that time. You didn't start out parts managers, did you? 18 years ago or 20 years ago?
No, I actually went to college.
I'm talking. Okay, so were you working in the auto parts industry when you went to school?
I went to school for the auto parts industry.
Oh, come on, that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So, where'd you go?
I went to SCC. I graduated back in '94. They actually had a program called Auto Parts Merchandising.
Really?
And what got me into that, honestly, was I was working for my uncle who owned a moving company.
Right.
And I ended up getting in a car accident
Oh.
while I was working.
Oh.
So L&I, the car accident messed me up when I was on L&I for 3.5 years.
Wow, I did not know that.
And then so they said, well, you're basically going to school because you're not going back to
Right.
that job.
Wow.
So they said you're going to go learn how to.
So did you
auto
pick?
parts.
Did you pick it or they picked it?
No, they picked it.
Wow. How did they pick that?
They just said, guess what? And they rattled the dice and it landed on 6.
Wow.
So
So okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, so yeah, so I went to SEC, and it was a 2-year program. 1 year is mechanics, the other year you ran a parts store that was inside
Wow.
the school. So, and you basically learned how to run a store, learned how to look up parts on books, you know. And
Old school at that time.
Well, no, we had computers that were linked to Napa and
Really?
so
Wow.
we could order online and you
Jeez.
know have them delivered to the school. And
Wow.
so, and then we were, you know, you have your transmission shop, your electrical shop, your carburetor shop, your regular mechanic shop. So we were keeping everybody supplied.
Wow.
So, and then Shucks recruited me out of college.
Wow.
So, and then
So-
that's where I stayed.
And when you were at Shucks, were you a parts manager at that time?
I walked in being a fourth key, basically
Okay.
the management and training.
Right.
So
I know what that is. If anybody
yeah.
doesn't, there's like the manager, the assistant manager, and there's one or two below that that's
yeah, with
ready to
Shucks
step up.
hierarchy, it was store manager, first assistant, and then it was your fourth key.
Wow.
So, and then within 3 months, I was the assistant manager.
Wow. When they told you were going to school for this, what did you have to do to prepare yourself, or you just go and?
I just went.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I just showed up to school and said, "Hey,
I'm here to
you know,
learn
I'm
something.
here to teach me something." Yeah.
And you they could teach you something.
I actually did pretty well.
Well, obviously they.
I mean, I you know, it's funny because I dropped out of high school. You know,
I didn't know that.
I dropped out of high school a week later. I went and got my GED. So I was never good at school. But then
I understand.
when I graduated this program, I graduated with a 3.8 average.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, it's like night and day.
Right. Well, school and sometimes isn't, especially the public school, isn't for everybody.
Yeah, well, it wasn't for me.
I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm not knocking him. Just.
I was, you know, I had that great attitude of I'm too cool for school. So.
Was the fight obviously through that? Obviously, there are no real obstacles besides you because you already had finances were set up for that.
Yeah, L&I paid for all the school
Your training.
So yeah.
Was there any other obstacles that you can think of? Remember, was it just besides you had?
In my case, no. It was. I mean, other than I was still going to physical therapy and everything else while
Sure.
I was still doing this. But I mean, as far as obstacles for going to school, no, there were no obstacles.
Wow.
Other tන the kids. But
Okay, so you had kids by then.
yeah, I had.
See, that's why I'm going to jump in because when I say what obstacles, one of the questions that I have is, you know, money, finances, which you didn't have, other work, or family. So, wife and kids at that time.
Mhm.
So, the wife at the time, was she working?
Yeah.
So that helped, and whatever else L&I was helping out financially to
Right.
get you through. All right, so kind of not really an obstacle, but just a challenge.
It was a challenge trying to do homework and stuff like that with kids. I mean, financially, it was.
Well, I
it
know
was
your
okay.
kids, and they're a pain in the
Exactly.
butt. Thanks,
Exactly.
John. Thanks, Katie. Yes, we're mentioning you.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of that when you were doing that? I mean, 2 years to get past. It's just what you did. You're already a mechanic, car parts kind of guy anyway, weren't you?
No, actually.
See,
I
I'm
wasn't.
not at all. I'm not a mechanic. I can
No.
change a tire, and I can turn. I think I can put gas in my car.
Yeah, I've heard you actually struggle with that.
Yeah,
but,
well, I struggle with lots of
No,
stuff.
actually, I mean, I really wasn't. I was never a mechanical guy. I never really cared about it. All I wanted to do was get in and drive. I loved
Oh,
it.
yeah, okay.
Drive, but I didn't want to fix it. If I broke it, I
Right.
just, shut the door, walk away. So actually, I learned quite a bit. I mean, from my customers and stuff. I mean, I walked in there pretty
Green.
green, and yeah.
Wow.
And what I learned was through school and then through my customers.
Wow.
So
What was the worst or hardest part of going to school for you?
the hours.
Why was that?
Getting up so darn early. No.
Actually,
honestly, I mean, no, that really wasn't. That really wasn't that bad. Honestly, it was just getting back into the studying. you
Yep.
know, and getting that
Actually
back
applying.
into that frame of mind of you know, well, wait a second, I have to apply myself, you know.
and obviously you wanted to and you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, and you know, I actually met one of my great friends while we were going through the program together, and it actually became kind of a fun rivalry, you know, of who.
Imagine that with
he
you.
graduated with a 3.9, I graduated with a 3.8.
Well,
and it
you
was like,
he beat
so
you.
he beat me, but that actually helped me out quite a bit to kind of, you know, get in
Challenge
there
and
and
push each other?
challenge and stuff. So I liked it.
What would you say the best part or the funnest part of that's going to school for that?
The funnest part's learning for me. I really like learning. And-
You still changing jobs to parts of different field, but kind of some of this familiar things, and learning new different parts and pieces you need to know now on a regular basis.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're
that-
learning
what I'm-
constantly.
What I'm doing compared to what I was doing in auto parts
Yeah.
is two different monsters.
Because
Because heavy equipment is more hydraulics,
okay.
which I
Hydraulics?
you don't have in automotive that much other
Yeah.
than power steering, you know, and stuff like that. But this is all heavy hydraulics, gears, pumps, motors. You know, it's just a total different.
My partner
beast.
behind the camera is knows stuff about all that. The heavy. One of his things that he does is drives big trucks. You're a CDL
Yeah.
licensed driver.
In fact, I've driven on some of your guys' jobs.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
in our trucks.
No, luckily.
We got brand new super dumps now, brand spanking new
Really?
2020 super dumps now. So, but usually when we contract out to like Homey or somebody like that, then we'll use those old ones.
Yeah.
The ones that are just spackled with concrete.
That's the ones I'm used to. See ya.
Yeah.
What would you say? People that get to know you now, or you know that know you, or anybody that talks to you now with the particular job and career that you have now, what's the biggest misconception you think other people have about what you actually do?
Honestly, when I tell them I'm a parts manager, I mean they honestly just sit there and say, well, how could you be a manager in parts? And so most people really have no clue what I do when you just say the title.
Right.
So
You obviously have to sound. You have a second? Let me tell you what I really do.
right. Well, as soon as they hear concrete, there you're like, oh, you're in construction. So you're out you're out in construction. And I'm like, well,
No.
I'm in construction. but
Correct.
I'm not in the physical labor part of construction.
Right. You keep the
So-
physical labor going.
Right. Yeah.
What?
I'm like the heartbeat of that.
Right. So, well, hey, we have a new question that came in. Today's the first time we're using it. What was the process from college to your career? And yet, there was no process besides, you said Shucks came and got you.
Right, straight out of, when I was in college, Shucks district manager came in and recruited me into the Shucks organization. Then I stayed with them, and then O'Reilly Auto Parts bought Shucks out.
Right.
I stayed with them. Didn't really fit for me, so.
I can't remember you changing and you went elsewhere.
Yeah, from there I was kind of, at that point I had been doing auto parts for, enough.
Right.
18
right.
years.
Right.
18 years. So I actually left. I went and did armored truck.
That's
for
right.
7 years, and
That's right. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a job, or that was more of a job than a career.
that was just a job. It was something different.
Right. And then you had to make money until this came along. Did you to do with this job? Did somebody tell you about it, or were you looking for a different job at that time to get a career-wise into the concrete management?
This job, no, they actually.
They found you.
Yeah, I was working at the Napa out in Airway Heights, and
Yeah.
their foreman, I would deal with him quite a bit. So
Oh.
he finally asked me, "Are you happy?"
Why do you ask?
And being the money hungry person that I am, I'm like, well, money talks, and
Correct.
So they talked to me, and I said, okay.
Are you happier though?
It's different.
Right.
It's a faster pace. You're constantly. It's a constant 911.
It's always there's always a fire somewhere.
You know, with auto parts, when you go to a retail auto parts store, you're going to have your rush from 5 to 7.
Right.
Or
After
whatever.
work,
This
right.
is all day. This is from
Yeah,
6 a.m. until
they start till they end.
whenever I get off work. So.
And then you pick it back up the next day.
Yep.
Wow. So what about your career? I kind of asked this, but what about your career in parts? And no, I asked you about school. What about your career that you dislike now? That what you're doing for the last couple of years? What do you dislike?
Right now, because I'm moving from auto parts to heavy equipment, I don't really. It's not my.
Right, you still
it's
there's
really
a lot
not
of
my
things.
lane, and it's not something that I'm real fluent with.
So it's a
You know,
challenge.
Yeah, because when I was in auto parts, I mean, I was good at my job in auto parts.
Well, you've done it for a while. You did your
Yeah.
training for a couple of years, get you warmed up.
Right.
Then you went into the store, which gave you already had some 2 years of training. So
Right.
now you
And
jump
I
in.
ran my own store and I was
Right.
a store manager in auto parts, but then I go to this, all of a sudden I'm an infant.
Right,
I'm,
right.
I'm learning everything every day, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that I don't like at all. I don't like feeling kind of inadequate or something.
Right, and letting the person down. You ever feel that way?
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
No, and they're not yelling at you because you're doing the best. But
Right.
trust me, I do understand because you're trying to get stuff done, trying to be the best you can be, and you know you'll get there. It's just it doesn't happen overnight.
Right. Right.
What gets you excited about your career going to work every morning? Because if it's a
That there's
911
that
constantly.
there's a quitting time.
is it,
No, actually, honestly, what I actually like is if I do have some downtime.
Yeah.
We got so much equipment on that in the yard and stuff like that. I mean, if I want to jump into a dozer, or if I want to jump into a a hoe or
Yeah.
anything,
Right.
I can just jump in there and learn how to drive it. And
see. Okay. So
I
you get to
I
play.
get to play around a little bit.
Okay,
with
and
heavy
understand, maybe
equipment.
give you some more knowledge and information to be able
Right.
to help out.
Right.
Okay, plus you get away from not just have fun for a few minutes. And
I get to even drive them dump trucks.
so, it's time in the office and time in the field. You pretty much are in the office constantly, except for if you take a joyride or go outside for a minute, correct?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll have to. Sometimes I'll have to, like, we have jobs going up on Snoqualmie Pass right now. We have
Okay,
jobs
wow.
over in Seattle on 405. We're doing Area 51 right now.
Really?
We have a job coming up.
Are there lane
over
limits?
in?
Okay.
Yeah, right. We have a job coming up over in the Marshall Islands, on Kwajalein Island.
Wow.
So I'm out trying to get things situated on that as well.
Wow.
And then when we're up on North-South Freeway, if something breaks down there and they need it and they can't send somebody to the shop to get it, then I'll run it up there to them.
So you get out.
So
You actually get to drive out once in a while and get out?
I get out.
Okay.
Yeah, I get out as well. So
Thank God.
you know,
That does help, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, I can't stand being on my feet for 20 years and doing auto parts, and always moving.
And getting old, and then just like we all
yes,
are.
now I'm getting old
It-
and
you-
fat and
Your grandpa,
lazy.
it's okay, man. It's okay. You earned it. Doing the stuff I've done to get out. There's Carlos. You want to pause that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. Hold on. I got mine. I'm sure it's Carlos. Oh, baby. Come on. Oh, stop it. Stop it.
So what do you work for?
Typically, I work for EER.
Okay.
He just owns a couple dump trucks. And then I also work for Greg Woodard. He owns Geomac. And I know we did some work on the north-south with you guys. And I know they were talking about Marshall Islands and stuff, maybe
That's
getting
turned
subs
into
for
a
some of that.
Big pain in the ass right now. So we have 12 Connexes out there at the shop right now that we're packing full. It's going to take a month and a half for that stuff to get there.
Wow.
Come on down.
And then they got to sit there. And they're going to send
We
like
paused,
4
we're
guys
good.
or whatever. They have to sit in quarantine for like 3 weeks when they get there. So,
Carlos, right? This is my partner. When I say partner, not lovers.
Business partner.
No, we've known each other too long. We were broken up. This is another friend of mine. This is Mike Wilson. This is Carlos. Carlos, what did the store change to? Your store.
T-Mobile.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
well, yeah, T-Mobile in spring
Yeah.
just
They
merged. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had
Yeah.
to deal with all that crap.
Yeah. Oh, that.
All right.
I remember that when Shucks and O'Reilly
These phones
merged.
all
in
silent.
Yes, please.
2 days with no sleep of changing the system over.
Oh, wow.
That was not good.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, right?
Yeah, sure. Peanuts about that big.
All right. We're gonna fit. We have a few more questions. And see, it's that easy.
Is that easy?
All right, just like sex. You're done, and
Well, this is lasting a hell of a lot longer.
I try. I don't want. I don't. Yeah. I don't want to last any longer than I have to anymore. I'm not there. Anyway, that's wrong. That's sick wrong. Are we back on yet?
Yep,
Are we there yet?
we're there.
Alrighty. Wherever we were at, I don't even remember where we were at, but we were talking. I don't know. You better fix it, edit it, make me sound good. Make him sound good.
Yep, did it before.
Every show, I mean.
Your magic.
That's not nice. Alrighty then. What's the most enjoyable thing that your job / career has done for your life? Besides just money.
Well, that was it.
Of course.
I haven't had a vacation in 2 years, so I mean that's the only benefit is money and
And that's when you went to and visited Katie down in Australia.
Yeah.
How long did you go down there? Was it
2
week?
weeks.
I don't really have a desire to go down. I know she loves it there.
Oh, it's great. It's expensive as all hell, but it's great. It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, we went out and dove the Barrier Reef and
Wow. Nice place to visit, but you can't afford to live there.
right. Yeah, because I mean, for me, it was honestly it was a little bit of torture because I'm an espresso guy.
Okay.
I have to have my espresso.
Okay.
They don't have espresso there.
Well, they don't do that?
No.
They don't.
No. You ask for espresso, you get espresso. The little
Wow.
cup,
So America hasn't got
Yeah.
to that, at least that way, huh?
No. It so I was 2 weeks without an espresso, and then
You bitch
everything
about
is-
everything.
I-
There's
I
always
do.
something you got to bitch about.
I'm Irish. I bitch about everything.
There you go. Go with your strengths. Does your income compare to what you thought it might be at this point, or what you had heard it would be? So, and I'm not going for specifics, but we've had other guests that will ask. That went through. One of our first guests was an architect, and the amount of money that's paid for schooling and et cetera, to do with an income at that point. After you're done and kind of get out and work. For you, as your income and is it what you are you comfortable? Are you happy? It can always be better. I know that, but
right.
considering,
Yeah, I mean it's a comfortable income. Yeah.
you're getting into you're gonna be buying a house soon, not a brand new home,
Not a brand new home,
but
no,
a nice
it's-
new home or a nicer home.
Yeah.
Okay, because you were you're gonna move for a couple weeks, then you're gonna move again in a couple weeks.
Gotta love it.
Okay, so let's see. Another new question for you, Mike. How many jobs do you think you had before you started this career, and how many have you changed, or have you changed your career technically? Because your parts, so that was 18, so you got that and that. So far, we know moving company.
Yeah, I've only had a few jobs. And,
All right, you suck. That was an easy question.
Moving company, armored truck.
Oh, that's
and
right, armored.
Parts. So
There you go. Boy, you're one of those guys, aren't you?
I like to stay where.
What advice would you give anybody that would be interested in getting automobile part or automotive parts, or what you do now? What advice would you give somebody that goes, hey, you know, a kid that's going, hey, you know, that'd be fun, or you know, has met you and used to, you know, deal with you at one of the auto stores, or any advice?
Actually, I mean, if you want to do auto parts and stuff, I mean, one thing you have to really do is like people.
Isn't that almost any sales job?
Any sales job, you have to be able to deal with people, like people, want to help people. Because I mean, when pretty much they come into an auto parts store, they're not in a very good mood.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I guess that would.
So you kind of have to know how to be a, you know, a listener.
Yeah.
And a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and sometimes a bouncer.
Yes. Wow, I never thought of that. But yeah, the car part, that's usually, and it's a major deal, and they got to get, and because if they can't go to work or do whatever.
Right, exactly. So, you know, we're like pretty much like the dentist. They don't want to come see us, except they have to. So
Once again, if they're in the cars and they're in the parts and they're a home mechanic, that's a part of it. That's a
being a home mechanic or whatever actually helps quite a bit, because you know you're going to help your customer with your knowledge as
right.
well. So
yeah. So I got one more major question. Is there any other career or job, any other job / career that you dreamt about as a kid?
I wanted to be a marine biologist. That's what I really wanted to be.
Really?
Yeah.
What started you on that?
I've always been, you know, I grew up on the ocean, so
I didn't know that.
I always wanted to just kind of study marine life and everything else, but then I realized it was a lot of school.
Oh, back to the school thing.
Back to the school thing. I was never a good student. So
did you realize this in grade school or high school that was?
I had the opportunity to go to school when I was living down in California, and I chose not to, and that's when I went into the military. So
We didn't cover that. When the military thing happened, because you said you got your so you got out of high school, you get quit. So then where'd you go? What's your time frame on that?
Left high school, and then a year later I was going off to basic training.
How long were you in the military? 8 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So then after that you went to the moving company.
Yeah, when I came out, I was in reserves, and then I was working for my uncle.
So there you go. So a little crossover.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Little bit of everything.
Yeah, you get around.
Well, that's what they say. Not quite as much as you, but you know.
Wow. I don't know if that's a compliment or insult, because you've never complained. Oh, wow. Well, thanks, Mike.
Never time.
I know, right? Well, Mr. Mike Wilson, and your job title again now is?
It's a parts manager, because you had me going on auto parts, and it's like
you did it for so long.
Yeah,
you're so easy to mess with.
For a company.
Blah 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 blah.
Right.
There you go. Thank you. Interesting. I learned stuff today, not just about you, but just things that that's the thing about this whole show. I try to give insight to whoever, hopefully something, somehow, the nugget, like you said, to be able to, dealing with people, and they usually don't want to come see you, and that makes sense, and there you go. And you have to help them out.
All right, you guys all heard it, right? You said you learned something.
Oh, I try to learn every day, because I am not the sharpest tool on the bookshelf. That's right. I'm your host, Victor Boudreau. Thanks for listening to Career Paths by InfoNet. It's your life. Make it happen. See you next time. Bam! Easy enough.